Governments to order on Friday, October 17th at 10 a.m. And we'll begin with the convening statement.
Before we begin, translation services are available free of charge upon request. Antes de que comencemos, servicios de traducción de forma gratuita son disponibles bajo petición. Benton-Franklin Council of Governments was established by a voluntary association of local units of government in 1966 with the vision of providing a forum for improved communication, multi-jurisdictional decision-making, regional planning, and the capacity to serve as lead agency in providing multi-jurisdictional programs. The services provided to the member jurisdictions are outlined by interlocal agreement and can evolve with the needs of the region. BFCOG currently fulfills the following designations on behalf of the Benton-Franklin region: Regional Planning Commission, Conference of Government, out there. Regional Transportation Planning Organization, Metropolitan Planning Organization, Transportation Management Area, and Economic Development District. The BFCOG Board of Directors simultaneously serves as the governing body for the Benton-Franklin Council of Governments, Benton-Franklin Metropolitan Planning Organization Transportation Policy Board, Benton-Franklin Walla Walla Regional Transportation Planning Organization, and Benton-Franklin Economic Development District. We share this information at the beginning of each board meeting to provide context to the information shared and the actions taken during the meeting.
Thank you for that.
Before we begin,
was that all of it?
Yes.
I guess maybe you wanted to repeat it or something, but anyway. Before we go any further, though, I'd just like to remind everybody that if you're not speaking, please mute your microphone and please only use one device to access this meeting so we're not having any kind of duplication or sound issues. So next we have a roll call, and we'll ask Michelle to do that, please.
Benton-Franklin Transit.
Here.
Benton County. Michael Alvarez is traveling today, so he will not be with us. City of Benton City.
Here.
City of Connell. City of Kennewick.
Here, Gretel Crawford.
City of Pasco.
Charles Grimm.
City of Prosser. Maricela Sanchez. City of Richland. City of West Richland.
Kate Moran, present.
Franklin County. Port of Benton.
Roy Keck.
Port of Kennewick.
Skip Novakovich.
Port of Pasco.
Vicki Gordon.
Washtenaw South Central. You do have a quorum.
We do have a quorum. Thank you, Michelle. Our next agenda item is the introduction of guests. Michelle, do we have any guests we need to introduce?
We do have some guests in our meeting today. Mark Lamb is our legal counsel from Carney, Badley, and Spellman. He is here for our executive session today. Jeff Koffel will be joining us a little bit later in the meeting, so I'll just introduce him now. He is the executive director for the Tri-County Economic Development District. And Kate Tollefson is on with us with Washtenaw as well. And then we do have our consultants who will actually be giving us a presentation in a few minutes, and Aaron will introduce them then.
Great, Michelle, thank you, and welcome to all our guests. Our next agenda item is the Pledge of Allegiance. If you please all rise. I'd like to ask the Mayor of Kennewick, Gretel Crawford, to lead us in the pledge, please.
Okay. I can't see the flag, but we pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
And to the republic
for which it stands,
one
nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated again. Gretel, thank you for that. Our next agenda item is approval of the agenda, and we do have one correction On the consent agenda, on the tip amendment where it says the 24th of September, and it should say, what, Lacey?
The 25th of October.
25th of October. So can we have a motion to approve the agenda with that change?
This is Kate Moran, so moved.
Thank you, Kate. Is there a second?
I'll second that. Gretel Crawford.
Thank you, Gretel. It's been moved and seconded to approve the agenda with the change mentioned. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed say no. Motion carries unanimously and the agenda is approved. Our next agenda item is public comment. It's an opportunity for anyone from the public to address the Council of Governments Board on anything that's on the agenda or anything you'd like to make us aware of. We just ask that you state your name, state your residence for the record, and limit your comments to 3 minutes. Would anyone like to make a public comment at this time? All right, hearing none, we'll move on then to item 7 on our agenda. It's a presentation, and Aaron, I believe you're going to introduce this one.
Yes, I am. Thank you. Today we have our consultants from the Cascadia Group presenting on the Tri-Cities Regional Climate Change. And we have we have Gretchen Muller, Director and Partner with Cascadia, and we also have Catherine Allison. I will read a quick bit of their bio. So Gretchen has 18 years of experience managing a broad range of stakeholder-driven sustainability projects. Gretchen is deeply involved in participatory planning and co-design efforts focused on change management and action planning related to climate, sustainability, and natural resource protection. When she isn't knee-deep with clients working to advance sustainability, she can be found traversing the soccer fields or ski slopes with her kiddo, or hanging out at home with her 16-pound orange tabby named Thomas. Catherine joined the Cascadia Group after devoting much of her education and career to supporting and leading impactful community resilience and environmental justice efforts across the United States. When she's not working, Catherine enjoys cooking, baking, knitting, hiking, camping, reading, and snuggling with her 2 resident cats. And I will also say during this process, Catherine adopted a dog too, so that wasn't mentioned. With that, I will turn it over to them.
Gretchen and Catherine, welcome.
Well, thank you so much for having us. As Aaron mentioned, Gretchen Muller, Cascadia Consulting Group. I'm a director here, and I'm joined by Catherine Allison as well, who's been an integral part of this process. Thanks so much for having us. Go to the next slide, please. So our short agenda with you all today, we will review, and I know Aaron has been updating you along the way, but review brief introduction to the regional effort and its various components. We'll talk through the state requirements for climate planning, and that we've had an eye on that every step of the way for each of these main deliverables. We will share with you all the key components for this regional climate element, a few high-level key takeaways, a snapshot of some of the draft goals and policies, and really the overarching goals and policies for each of the key components, and then we'll wrap up with next steps. Next slide, please. And keep going here. Excellent. So as Aaron mentioned and has been keeping you all abreast throughout the course of this effort, these 5 jurisdictions that are listed here, Benton County, Kennewick, Pasco, Richland, and West Richland, all pooled their resources together to meet requirements of House Bill 1181. Go to the next slide, please. So this House Bill 1181 adds, and I'll get to kind of the key requirements for House Bill 1181 in the next slide here, but shows how the climate element, which is the requirement of House Bill 1181, fits into all of the other elements as part of each of these jurisdictions' comprehensive plans. And we anticipate that each jurisdiction will adopt both a combination of region-wide policies, which are in the draft almost final climate element, as well as workshop and adopt locally specific policies and strategies for individual implementation for each of the participating jurisdictions. And the list of bulleted items on the second half of this slide shows the main deliverables that were rolled up and form the basis for the policies that are in the climate element. Next slide, please. So speaking to some of the benefits as to why a regional effort and why these 5 jurisdictions decided over a year ago now to pool resources. So these jurisdictions really leading in the acknowledgement that they're all interconnected, as is the weather and climate vulnerabilities, as are the residents that are traveling to and from various jurisdictions, and that there's power in collaboration as well. So this slide really captures some of the core elements to why these 5 jurisdictions chose to pool resources together and embark on this year-long journey of drafting a regional climate element. Next slide, please. We can skip to the next slide. Thank you. So what is a climate element? So under House Bill 1181 here, this was adopted as a piece of legislation as part of Washington's Growth Management Act, and in 2023. And the resulting climate GMA requirements required newly tasked cities and counties to integrate both climate resilience as well as greenhouse gas emission reduction policies into their comprehensive planning efforts. So thinking again of that graphic that I showed you a couple of slides ago with the comprehensive plan in the middle and all the various elements that make up each of these jurisdictions update to their comprehensive plans. Go to the next slide, please. So this slide captures the 2 sub-elements that are part of the climate element. So on the left side of the screen, we've got the emissions reduction sub-element that's required for 11 of the state's largest and fastest growing counties and cities. So the regional climate element includes an emissions reduction sub-element. And on the right side of the screen, it also includes the resilient sub-element, which is also required and shows what are the key pieces of each of these 2 sub-elements. So for the emissions reduction sub-element, we've got emissions reduction measures on both the greenhouse gas emission side of things, as well as per capita vehicle miles traveled. And for the resilient sub-element, adaptation measures. Next slide, please. We can actually, we're going to move through these. I won't read through. I know you've got a copy of this slide deck here. These are the 3 requirements that are part of the minimum requirements for the sub-element. And our policies we've got policies that address each of these requirements. Next slide, please. And there are also 3 minimum requirements on the greenhouse gas reduction sub-element side of things as well. And our policies also address each of or more than one of these minimum requirements as well. Next slide. So this shows the timeline of all of the various different key deliverables, and as we like to say, the ingredients that went into the drafting of the goals and policies. So you'll see on the bar at the top here, the climate resilience sub-element bar, tree canopy assessment, climate impact summary, climate vulnerability assessment were all deliverables and key milestones and outputs for the climate resilience sub-element, and this yellow bar captures the greenhouse gas inventory and projections, as well as the vehicle miles traveled analysis. And then we also conducted a very extensive policy audit to see what are all the existing policies across a range of core planning documents that each of these jurisdictions have and are using to pull out the existing policies that each of the jurisdictions already have in play here. And all of those things informed the goals and policies and this final climate element. Next slide, please. These 2 bars on the bottom show some of the engagement touch points, and actually I'm going to skip right to the next slide, which provides some numbers of, we can go ahead to the next slide here. this one is great. So we had 20 meetings and counting with members from the project team. So each jurisdiction had at least one project team member, met on a bi-weekly basis. We're still meeting starting in January of last year, all the way through the end of this project. We have our last meeting coming up here. Also formed and the jurisdictions, the project team created a climate policy advisory team that spanned disciplines, spanned jurisdictions, perspectives, and that climate policy advisory team met a total of 4 times and reviewed each of the draft and then final deliverables for this series of public meetings. We also held jurisdiction-specific workshops and went to each city council and or planning commission as part of this effort as well to review the draft policies with everybody. Pausing, any clarifying questions? We do have a few additional slides. So Erin, do you want us to just keep going or pause here for questions?
Aaron, should we ask if any members have any questions of Gretchen so far?
I do have a question. In the Tri-Cities, we've seen a high number of pedestrian deaths and cyclist deaths. And we know that these are happening on wide multi-lane streets and on streets that have high speeds within urban areas. I'm wondering why does the state of Washington, why are we, even with these climate goals in mind of wanting to provide alternatives for people to get around either on foot or by bike so that we can have many different options for transportation, why the state of Washington is continuing to fund ever wider streets and to keep the goals of maintaining high speeds on streets within urban areas. So we're not talking about freeways or county roads. These are city streets. And I'm just wondering why there's not a bit more of a coordinated effort to ensure that our streets are safe enough that people can choose to walk or bike.
That's a great question, and one that is likely being addressed in the safety and transportation elements as part of the comprehensive plan. And Erin, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I would say, as far as a statewide priority, the COG, we can't answer that of what is being funded within our region. If there's specific funding sources or things like that, I don't mean to throw Brian under the bus, but I would defer that to Washington. Things that are being prioritized. I know within our most recent call for projects, we had an increase of transportation alternative program funding, so TAP funding. We're required to do at least 7.8% of all of our funding going towards non-motorized things. We've exceeded that each time. In this past one, we did about 11.4, which is 4% more than what is federally required, and we have increased it since 2019, each call for projects. So in our region, we are doing better than we have been, but that doesn't mean that we're doing as good as we should. As far as statewide priorities, I can't answer that, but I would defer to that.
I mean, really, it's throwing the legislature under the bus because we take our direction from the legislature and they provide us the funding. We provide them, where our key areas are, and it's up to them to provide that funding. So for example, for preservation program, that's just like paving the roadway, paving the bridge. Next year, I have no new starts. They front loaded the whole program into this year, so I will not be out paving other than work in progress. Safety is even a worse story in that I think in the last legislative session, we put forward requests for funding of the safety program in the tune of $500 million, which isn't a lot, but we didn't get any money. And I can go down in my region and just list where those areas are. I mean, 395 high-speed facility had many recent incidents, and we've looked at the region level, kind of what could we do, but there's no funding that's available for those types of projects. And to your point about the ever increasing wider streets, if it's a state route through a city, Those, if we went in and did a preservation program type solution where we're just paving it, the requirements for complete streets make those wider. Now, we do address pedestrian and bike facilities, but as you can imagine, to accommodate those facilities, you get a wider footprint as you move through. So-
Yeah, I think that's been my concern is that we are choosing the most expensive option, which is the both and. So we're making the streets wider and then we're tacking on the additional sidewalks and bike lanes, but it's not only the most expensive option, it doesn't solve the problem. It doesn't make the street safer for those users. It's just kind of checking the box of sure, here you go, here's a facility, but it's not really practical, nor is it cost effective.
It provides those opportunities, but at the same time, so the city of Waitsburg wants to do a little favor through their town, which is about a $1 million project. When we throw the complete streets on, you're adding $2 to $3 million more onto that project. So what does that mean? That means that project probably won't get funded because of the cost. So I'm not saying we shouldn't do this. I think it's a good idea, but to just carte blanche say every paving project that WashDOT does now has to address complete streets, even it's in the middle of SR 730 down by the Columbia River where there really isn't any need, we still have to address it. So, but I just don't think as a state we can afford to look at all these routes. I think it should really be more in the metropolitan areas or a small city that we look at these solutions, because being a bike rider, a lot of those city streets or county roads you're uncomfortable. You're riding on because cars are whizzing by fast. The shoulders are narrow. So we just got to figure out what our priorities are, where we want to put them.
Yeah, and my concern is, to be clear, is specifically about city streets, not about county roads or enterprises.
And I can try to bring a segue back to this of something WashDOT is doing with comp plan updates and then getting back to this is that, so there's a multimodal level of service that's being done in comprehensive plans. And WashDOT has a very ambitious goal of having level of service 1 or 2 on all their facilities, even if it is going through a city, so such as Prosser or West Richland. So that will be adding on future plans that make sure that those streets are less stressful for pedestrians and cyclists. So speaking of comp plan, things that are required, back to Catherine and Gretchen.
Okay, great. So we'll keep going here. We just have a handful more slides. So I'm going to turn it over to Catherine to share some of the high-level inputs from some of those community stakeholder and staff touch points.
Great, thank you all. Just want to share a snapshot of some of the feedback we heard, as you saw on that last slide, the different community and stakeholder engagement efforts that we've been a part of. So the first few bullets here are highlighting the feedback we got from the public survey and stakeholders on climate impacts. And the last two bullets at the bottom are sharing some of the feedback we've received specifically around policies, highlighting some of the tensions that we've heard between priorities and overarching feedback that's for our jurisdictions and our partners to consider as they're moving forward. We can go to the next slide here. And keep going, please. We'll jump into some of the technical pieces that have informed this process. So the regional vulnerabilities, this is a requirement of the process to assess how key climate hazards are impacting the people, the infrastructure, the natural environment. I highlighted here the 4 sectors that our vulnerability assessment focused on, which was developed in concert with our partners on determining which sectors to focus on that also meet commerce requirements. Can go to the next slide here is showing the overview of the primary greenhouse gas emissions for the entire region. So you'll see the Benton-Franklin region is the 2 counties that were part of this project. Benton County participated. Pasco from Franklin County was in this project, so we wanted to include emissions from the county. We have Benton County, Kennewick, Richland, West Richland, and Pasco as our 5 jurisdictional partners. And you'll see that transportation and building energy use are the 2 predominantly largest sources of emissions throughout the region. Next slide, please. This is a map of vehicle miles traveled, or VMT, throughout the region, so showing people traveling in and out of both Benton County and Franklin County, but as far including Yakima County and Walla Walla County. For the region, we're expected to see an 11% increase in BMT by 2045, mainly driven by population and job growth. And so we were looking at how much travel is done by car already and how long are commute trips as we're developing policies around vehicle miles traveled. Can go to the next slide here. I think I'll keep going and we'll get into our draft goals and policies. So as Gretchen mentioned, in our policy audit, we looked at what was already on the books in the region and the different jurisdictions to identify some gaps that we want to focus on creating new policies. Policy trends were highlighting what is already being done in the cities or in the county that we can build on. And so the top table there is showing the policies related to the climate resilience sub-element, and the bottom table is looking at policies related to the greenhouse gas reduction sub-element. And so we use that as kind of a foundation as we move forward into developing policies, which we can now, if you go to the next slide, we can look at the first goal is actually our overarching goal for the entire climate element. And there's a few goals in this, a few policies in this goal focused on increasing skill and experience needed to implement climate element policies, tracking and measuring progress towards them, and making sure that all policies and the programs that might come from them are grounded in defensible science. I'll note that all the other policies and goals in the climate element are all in support of this overarching goal. Can go to the next slide, please. This is the overarching climate resilience goal. So this is the foundation for each of the goals and policies in this sub-element. And this sub-element is looking at the priority sectors identified from commerce. These are a few of the example policy themes that were pulled out. There are 5 goals and about 25 policies in this sub-element in its own, so we're not going to go through all of them, but you have had access to all those. So just want to highlight that these policies are focused on expanding education and outreach programs, making sure that fire mitigation practices, water storage and conservation practices are being established and grown to protect natural environment, the general public, etc. And then our next slide here is our overarching greenhouse gas emissions goal. And similar to the climate resilience sub-element, we have a number of goals and policies for this sub-element. These policies are focused on improving energy efficiency in buildings and housing, integrating more mixed-use land uses to have in housing, transit, amenities co-located to reduce drive times, different ways to reduce waste and expand recycling programs, for example. So many options for here. And then we can talk about what's next. Back to you,
Thanks,
Gretchen.
Catherine. Yeah, thanks so much. So what happens now? So we just, the public comment period for the draft climate element closed a couple of weeks ago. So we're integrating comments into the final climate element. So it goes over to the client team, the project team for final review next Monday, and then we will submit it, and Erin will submit it into Department of Commerce at the end of this month. So what happens after that? So it is a regional climate element and regional in nature and intent. And so each of the participating jurisdictions will now walk it through the various steps that each of these jurisdictions have for formal adoption and refinement at the local jurisdictional level. So you'll see on the far right here the various different dates. Benton County will be adopting their comprehensive plan, and the climate element is one of the core elements of their comp plan in October. So many steps between now and then to refine with that local lens, the climate element, and get it into the formal adoption process there. And then the cities of Kennewick, Pasco, Richland, and West Richland have the December 2026 timeline. So formal baton handoff with this regional climate element to then head into the local comprehensive planning update process at the end of October through each of their deadlines for their updates to their comprehensive plans. And with that, that is our last slide here, and I'll turn it back over to you, Erin, and we've got time for questions. Happy to answer any questions as well.
Erin, any final comments, and then we'll open it up for questions.
Yeah, I just wanted to give a big thank you to Gretchen and Catherine and all of the participating jurisdictions in this. This was the first regional effort of this kind. And we're hoping for more in the future. This is helping save taxpayer dollars. It's a cost saving measures and also more collaboration, which is always a good thing.
Erin, thank you for that. Board members, any questions of Gretchen or Catherine?
I have a comment.
Go ahead, Gretel.
So in regards to the comment earlier about pedestrians and sidewalk and safety and that sort of thing, I think that, and I don't know if this is, in line with this, I guess, but one of the bigger issues, I think, we put a lot of the safety flashers and things like that in high use areas for pedestrians, and I think that that's helped quite a bit. But I mean, I think the underlying for a lot of it is not the speed limit necessarily, but speeding. I mean, I know in Kennewick, and we've had numerous, citizen concerns, but there's little people that are speeding all over the place, and the little electrical bicycles and things like that. And, the police have been doing some emphasis patrols, but I mean, the bottom line is community needs to function in a safe manner as well. And I think a lot of this came from during COVID shutdown times and when there wasn't enforcement on people that speed. And now there's just kind of a carte blanche where they're not only speeding, but then the distraction of phones and texting. There's a lot of distractions while driving, and all of these things, I think also, I don't know if it matters how you build roads at some point in time when people just aren't paying attention and or not following the rules that are supposed to make the roads safer. So I don't know if that can somehow be included in this comprehensive plan or the reasons why, or maybe things can help. But to me, those are underlying factors that even if you do everything right, will still have harmful effects for safety on the roads.
Catherine or Gretchen, any comments to that?
Just captured. Thank you for that comment.
This is Kate. I got a question, comment.
Go ahead.
First, I just definitely want to say thank you to Gretchen and Catherine. It was a pleasure having, I believe it was the both of you that was at West Richland, West Richland's meeting with our planning commission on the 30th. So thank you for coming out there and for sharing all of this. First, I guess second, definitely I want to agree with Gretchen. I've noticed it, especially after COVID. Maybe it was because I didn't drive as much during COVID and I forgot how much people are jerks on the road. But I've definitely been noticing it so much more now than I've been on the road. And I definitely agree, people have gotten worse. Although I will say that also, if the limits are already higher, people are going to tend to be even higher. But I also agree that people are speeding, and speeding is a big issue. So I guess going back to just in general what we're discussing here, I have a question for Gretchen and Catherine. I'm wondering, there's to me, kind of a glaring hole. Was Franklin County reached out to and just decided not to be included, or how did that work?
And Erin can speak better to the history of that because we came on after the group was formed and the solicitation was released. But they were invited.
Okay. Well, I definitely want to say thank you to all of the jurisdictions that did join us. I know that even though West Richland is smaller, it's really important to remember that we're all a community and we all drive on each other's roads and go to each other's businesses. So we truly are just one big regional area. So thank you to everybody that joined us. I know that at the West Richland meeting, we did discuss how the goals that are on here are really great. Some of them are lofty, some of them relate to our specific cities, some of them don't relate to our specific cities. And one of the things that I discussed with our planning commission staff and other council members is that I'm hoping that our city and other jurisdictions will look at these goals and make concrete, what I've learned at work to call SMART goals, where you have them be specific, you have them be measurable, and these particular goals themselves don't always have that, but I feel like our jurisdictions can create them to really solidify our buy-in to these things, because I think it's really important to have lofty goals, but then have ways to meet them. Because you can have goals out there that are floating around, but they don't do anything if you don't meet them. So again, thank you again for this work. It's been a big effort, I'm sure, just from looking at what we've gone through. And thank you to everybody that's participated, and thank you for BFCOG for being a part of it too, because you guys have the info, the connection.
Well, Gretchen and Catherine, thank you very much. I'll just ask, somebody, iPhone is not addressed, but the hand's up. Does somebody else have a question?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's Charles in Pasco, and I've got to take a little different approach to this. You know, most of these initiatives, as sincere as they are, have very little, make very little difference in the overall impact of the climate. The climate has been changing for eons, and most of these kind of initiatives just put a larger burden on working families by raising energy costs, whether it be at the gas pump or through our power bills. And really, I would be one for just making the minimum obligation as required by the state, just because of the burden this puts on families that are already burdened from all ends. And you know, if this was something that was going to make some massive impact that could be measured and make a real difference in the world and the earth, that would be one thing. But all of these initiatives seem to be mostly politically motivated to really just to get people to do what they want. And, you know, I'm not surprised that other jurisdictions wouldn't want to be part of this for those reasons. So for the sake of human flourishing, quality of life, and relieving the burden put on families, yes, I would be for just meeting the minimal goals as required by the state.
Well, Charles, thank you for those comments. Any other board members have any other further comments? Ms. Allen?
Yeah, I have a question regarding the tree canopy assessment. We recently found out that within our town, we've lost 20% of our tree canopy, and this was, I think, with the USGS or US Forestry Service. Their satellite assessments, they're able to look over a particular segment of a city and assess how the tree canopy has changed over time. And we lost a staggering 20% in just 7 years. And I just think of what effect that this has on reducing the walkability of our town, reducing the ability of people to even just like wait for the bus comfortably if they're just out in the blaring sun, and our weather here is very, very hot. I'm wondering what is contained within the plan aside from assessment. Is there any sort of recommendations or accountability for cities to maintain their tree canopy?
Great question, and I'll turn it over to Catherine. There are some policies that are directly connected to tree canopy. So Catherine, want to speak to that?
Yeah, I'll speak to a little bit. It's a good question. It actually is one of the tensions that we've been hearing between increasing tree canopy and needing to conserve water and trying to balance. Any policies that we've included are mindful of the types of trees, so making sure they're drought tolerant, native trees, so that they can both provide that shade, that safety, that comfort for residents, that ecosystem benefit without having like a negative impact by needing more water than is available to support that tree canopy.
Gretel, did you have your hand up?
I did. I just wanted to say that I appreciate Charles's comments and I would agree with that. And I think following our workshop presentation, the city of Kennewick would also be of the same mind of just meeting the minimal goals or standards.
Great, thank you. Does any other board member have any other comments or questions?
This is Kate.
Go ahead, Kate.
So, to Maricella's point, I would say that in West Richland, we had a discussion about tree canopy also, and what I kind of took away a little bit and I had mentioned is, to me, maybe not so much the tree canopy, but the green spaces, especially because of the ability to be, what's the word? Not heat sink, but to help with the urban heat.
Urban heat island.
There we go. Yes, thank you. So, and maybe not even, like I said, related to just trees, but green spaces in general to help out with the ability to help cool down our spaces. Cause a lot of times if you do have a lot of asphalt, it is much hotter in those areas. And I think to even go beyond that, kind of to talk about what Charles was saying, and I appreciate what Charles was saying, Councilmember Graham. I will say that with the way that these are written, I feel like jurisdictions can go as far as they would like to go. But we do have to look at the big picture because I think we can discuss back and forth politics all day, partisan or whatnot, but in the end, it comes down to, how are we going to continue to survive with possibilities of more drought, possibilities of more severe weather, and the continuing growth of our communities and the lack of water that we're going to have and the lack of space that we're going to have for these green spaces. So I'm hoping that we can all work together and focus on the goal that we are a community and a society, and that what one community in one area might want to do may not be as far as the other wants to do, but not to limit ourselves based off of that. If that makes sense. It's kind of rambling a little, trying to wake the caffeine kick in stuff.
Thanks, Kate. Well, Gretchen and Catherine, thank you so much for that. Aaron, do you have anything else to add to wrap this up, or are we good to move on?
We're good to move on.
Awesome. Gretchen, Catherine, again, thank you so much. We'll move on to our next agenda item, which is the consent agenda. These are items considered of a routine nature, taken by one vote of the board. Any item can be removed, placed further on down the agenda, or tabled for another meeting. Do we need to remove any item from the consent agenda? Hearing none, can we have a motion to approve the consent agenda as it was amended?
I move to consider the agenda as amended.
Thank you. Is there a second?
This is Kate Moran, a second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda as amended. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed say no. The consent agenda is approved. Thank you so much. Our next agenda item is we will recess this board meeting for the purpose of an executive session as per RCW 4230-110-1I to discuss with our attorney present online litigation, pending litigation, or legal risk or a current or proposed action. And so we'll recess this regular meeting at 10:43, and we just ask that only board members remain in the room. And we estimate that this will take 15 minutes. If we need to extend it, we'll make an announcement that will extend for another time period. So right now, the regular meeting is recessed.
Okay, we have resumed recording and staff and any remaining guests are in the meeting.
All right, well, we adjourned the executive session and we will reconvene this regular Council of Governments board meeting of Friday, October 17th at 10:56 a.m. And we have a proposed motion that we'd like to put forward. Michelle, would you read that, please?
Yes, so the proposed motion is to ratify Board Chair goodness, I was just calling you Skip for that reason. Board Chair Novakovic's decision to authorize filing of a suit against the estate of Robert McKinney due to expedience. So we just want to ratify that decision.
So that's the motion. Would someone like to make that motion, please?
This is Kate Moran, West Richland. I would like to make that motion.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Make that motion.
I will second that. Gretel Crawford.
Thank you, Gretel. It's been moved and seconded to approve the motion as read by Michelle. Any board discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed say no. The motion's approved. Thank you. Thank you, Michelle, for your work on that too. All right, we'll move on then to action items, MPO, RTPO action items. Who's taking those?
I have the first two, then Tanner has the last one.
Great, go ahead, Aaron.
All right, so before you in your packet is the VCB 2139 agreement, also known as the 314 agreement or tri-party agreement. This is an agreement between WashDOT, the COG, and Ben-Franklin Transit saying that we coordinate transportation planning within our metropolitan area and within the COG's planning area. This agreement needs to be updated or amended every 5 years. The last time this agreement was updated was in 2020. So we're in 2025. This agreement needs to be updated or amended. It was originally drafted in 2015, amended in 2020, and then this is the amendment number 2 that would take place for that agreement. In your packet, there was the amendment. Rather than going through and reading all of the entirety of what things will be adjusted, I'm just going to read the high level things. So in amendment number 2 on section within the amendment, it outlines in section 1. There's some language that is being updated through the request of WashDOT. Number 2, that is an update of a CFR and a USC number. That holds true to section number 3 about performance management. It is an update of a CFR number. Number 4 is also an update of a CFR number. Number 5 about public participation plan is also an update of a CFR number. Number 6 about Ben-Franklin Transit public participation is about clarifying language relating to BFT's public participation plan. In the last amendment, it said that they would adopt our public participation plan. This amendment clarifies that. Section 7 is updated language on funding sources and names. For example, it is an update on the Transportation Alternatives Program rather than calling it TAP. And then number 8 is an update of addresses and titles. Specifically, it is changing the title in for Ben-Franklin Transit to Chief Executive Officer instead of General Manager. So with that, there is a proposed motion in front of you, and I can answer any questions on the 314 agreement.
Does anyone have any questions of Aaron? Hearing none, can we have someone move to approve amendment 2 for CGB 2139 agreement, please?
Skip, I think that Kate did have a clarifying question. Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, go ahead, Kate.
That's all right. It wasn't so much of a question, just a comment. Aaron, thank you for making sure to not call it the tri-party agreement because it made me pucker a little bit because I can't vote on anything related to that. The big tri-party thing. So thank you.
Right.
If there's no other though, I will make this motion.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second, this is Vicky.
Vicky, thank you. So it's been moved and seconded to approve amendment 2 to the GCB 2139 agreement. Any further board discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed say no. Motion is approved and amendment 2 to the CGB 2139 agreement is approved. Aaron, thank you for that. you want to move on to your second item?
Yes, that would be great. All right. Next up is the 2026 Regional Transportation Priorities. If you're having deja vu, it's because this was in front of you last month for adoption, and then some important background on why it is back in front of you now. So during the September board meeting, Port of Benton informed us that the White Bluffs project, the White Bluffs rail tie and rail replacement project, is fully funded. So therefore, we took the project off of the list. So with that, it shifts projects up one more spot. So that would be shifting the Road 76 overpass from number 6 to number 5, the Blue Falls Road to number 6. So that is now on the front of the page. So that shifts it from the back to the front. That is one part of the motion within the packet. So that's just a little background information on that. Next slide, please. The next part of why this is in front of you is talking about the Tri-Cities Outer Loop, the Benton-Franklin Outer Loop. So in February of this year, staff leaders and public works directors from each jurisdiction participated in a session led by the COG called the Road Ahead Regional Transportation Reimagined, where we asked, what does the transportation system look like in 50 years? And how do we get there? We were asking for big infrastructure projects and what is missing within our region. There wasn't a single project that was identified. However, it was I'll say a cascade of events that could happen. And then looking into a feasibility study of how these improvements would take place. So you're seeing on your screen the map of this, but I will read what each one of these are. So that would be a Fourth River crossing, a North Richland Bridge, Richland SR 240 bypass, grade separated, expansion of the Blue Bridge in US 395, a Franklin County bypass, and a West Richland bypass, I-82 interchange. So each one of these items has been studied individually at some point in time over the last 25 years. However, they have not all been studied at the same time and then prioritized to see where our investment should go. And that is what this study is hoping that, this feasibility study would be hoping to do. Earlier this year, our TAC chair and TRIDEC worked to get this listed on the Good Roads Regional Transportation Priority Lists. And we are hoping to put this on our list now as the number 10 project. So the last project on the back side of the page, as consistency, as we are working with TRIDEC and having a proviso go to the legislators this year.
So thank you. Any questions of Aaron?
I have a question. So the I-82, is that a new interchange?
That would be, it's studying a new interchange. So that had been studied in the past.
The Red Mountain.
Correct.
I definitely would say, I'm glad to see it. I know that there's been contention from, I think, other side of the state because we have so many
It's really
exits
federal
from.
highways.
Yeah, that's fair, yeah, federal highways, but it would be really beneficial to West Richland to be able to get some trucks in there so that we weren't so landlocked with not having the ability to. But I'm very glad to see that on there.
Gretel?
So the Fourth River crossing north of Richland, I don't quite understand that. I know it's been discussed quite a bit. Can somebody enlighten me just a little bit on, is that just for commuter transportation? Is there a lot of freight that comes through that area? What would be the benefit of that North River crossing into Franklin County?
And I would say, Gretel, that question is exactly what we're hoping to answer. So this has been a topic that has been brought up as recently as the 2019 Richland North-South Capacity Study with WashDOT, Benton County, West Richland, where they looked at a Fourth River crossing up north, excuse me. And we want, if this is something that the community wants to move forward with, we want to understand what that investment would be. Would it be rail only? Would it be commuter and freight? Would it be a toll bridge? We don't know until we start to study it. So this would be one of the items that we would hope to prioritize within it.
Who has been the proponent of it, though? I mean, I've heard it talked about, but it doesn't sound like you even know that much about it. That's a wide range of what ifs. So
there, I'll say Franklin County has asked for it to be looked at. City of Pasco has asked for it to be looked at, and other jurisdictions as well. And that is my answer.
Gretel, I think I would also add that Again, going back to just this concept of an outer loop, that when we look at our transportation system as a whole for the region, the number one most identified gap is that lack of a full kind of outer loop around our region. So all of these projects were identified as, if we were to achieve an outer loop, these are all the projects that would be necessary to achieve an outer loop. And we want to go back and study them from that perspective. Versus, as Aaron mentioned, they've all been looked at one time or another by one jurisdiction or another as part of a big plan. So for us to really look at them as collaboratively for an ultimate goal of eventually being able to finish an outer loop. And we are thinking very long range, because these are all massive projects. We were looking 50 years in the future at least, but at first we have to start exploring. But yeah, there are different entities that have specifically asked about North Richland in the past. I've had one passionate individual that's been in our office at least 3 times in the last month. I'm really excited about it. So yes, there are interested parties.
So I do put in that perspective. I think that is good. I mean, if you think about the additional, I guess, industrial land in North Richland, when you think about the growth of Franklin County, and if you can avoid, let's say, Road 68 or Road 100 on some of that, it definitely would alleviate a lot of pressure in a lot of ways. So, okay, thank you for that. Appreciate it.
Little bit of history tidbit there. A long time ago, this was discussed when Bob Larson was the commissioner at the Port of Benton. And because of as much as he talked about it, it was actually named the Bob Larson North Richland Bridge. So that goes back a long ways. So you have a motion on your screen or in front of you. Would someone please make that motion?
This is Kate. I move to adopt the Benton-Franklin County Government's 2026 Regional Transportation Priorities with the addition of the Tri-Cities Outer Loop Transportation Study and the removal of the White Bluffs rail tie and rail replacement projects, which is fully funded.
Thank you, Kate. Is there a second?
I will second that, Gretel Crawford.
Thank you, Gretel. It's been moved and seconded. And I'm not going to read the whole motion again. Any further board discussion on the motion? Hearing none. I'm sorry.
Sorry. This is Kate. I just want to say also the North Bridge in North Richland, I think that one of the discussions possibly that Richland had was that it would help mitigate some of the traffic of the Hanford 500 going from Pasco on, what is that, 240? Yeah, so that they could just go further and closer to Hanford rather than having to go all the way and, muck up 240 and the bypass as it is right now. So, yeah.
All right, any other comments? All right, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no.
Aye.
The motion carries. Thank you. We'll move on to our next agenda item. And Tanner, I believe that's you for the TIP program.
Hi, yes, thank you, Skip. Good morning, everyone. This is the annual update of the Transportation Improvement Program. This is a short-range document that it consists over 4 years, and projects included have program funds that are federal, state, and local throughout the region. In this plan, we have a total of 54 projects that amount to just under 154 million. And the proposed motion is to request adoption of the 2026 to 2029 Transportation Improvement Program as presented. If you have any questions,
yes, Tanner, thank you. Board members, any questions of Tanner on this agenda item? If not, can we have a motion?
I motion to approve.
Kate has a question.
Who does?
Kate.
Kate, do you have a question?
I gotta get faster on the draw there, Skip, sorry. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure I was trying to look through it and I just wanna verify there is nothing related to Department of Energy in this, right? No.
No.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, then can someone make the motion, please?
I propose to adopt the BFCOG 2026-2029 Transportation Improvement Program TIP as presented.
Thank you. Is there a second?
This is Kate, I second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded to adopt the COGS 26-29 TIP program as presented. Any other board comments or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed say no.
No.
The motion is approved with one no vote. All right, we'll move on to EDD action items. And I believe, Michelle, is that you or is Jeff going to handle this?
I'm going to introduce Jeff Koffel and give just a little bit of background. Jeff Koffel is the executive director for the Tri-County Economic Development District, and they operate a very robust revolving loan fund program with the EDA. Just for background of the board, back in June of 2022, we did vote as an organization to begin phasing out our revolving loan fund program. Our EDA Cares revolving loan fund is our final fund that does still have federal obligations tied to it. And it was the intent of the board that if possible, if we were able to transfer that fund to another entity that would still allow borrowers from our two counties to access those dollars, that would be preferable to returning the funds to the EDA. The EDA, of course, was open to either of those strategies, but of course, it's always much better for them to keep the funds operating rather than taking them back as well. So in a recent meeting, I was able to connect with Jeff, and they have come to us with a proposal related to our EDA Cares Fund. So I will turn it over to Jeff.
Welcome, Jeff.
Thank you, and thanks for the great background, Michelle. So the Tri-County Economic Development District, we're also the Northeast Washington RTPO, so we share very similar backgrounds with you folks. We're also the ADO for Fair. But for today, we operate what's called the Rural Opportunities Loan Fund. Currently, we serve 10 Eastern Washington counties. Ferry, Stevens, Ponderay, Okanagan, Chelan, Douglas, Grant, Lincoln, Adams, Spokane, Whitman, Garfield, and Asotin. And we do that not only through EDA funds and an EDA Cares, but we also have several IRPs, which are USDA loans that we then reloan, as well as a CDBG and an RMAP and an RBEG. So we've got a fairly diverse group of funds. And when Michelle was saying that you were looking at getting out of the RLF business, especially with an EDA Cares, we always hate to see revolving loan funds go away, and more of them have over the past few years. And since we're operating in EDA Cares, I checked with EDA, and they, like Michelle said, they're willing to allow you to transfer that to us. And our proposal would be that we would continue to serve your two counties, but we would serve it with the entire ability of our loan fund, and that your EDA Cares would actually just be rolled into ours to keep the federal obligation under us. And then we would amend our RLF manual for the EDA Cares to reflect that.
Michelle, anything to add to that?
No, I don't think so. From my perspective, this is probably the best opportunity we have, because not only does it keep the funds operating as a revolving loan fund to benefit businesses, it's actually additionally beneficial to our local borrowers because they go into a larger loan fund rather than the smaller fund that they would have been limited to had we just kept it restricted to our two communities. So from my perspective, this is about the best solution we could have for this fund to both affect what we are looking for in getting out while still keeping resources available to our community.
Thank you, Michelle. Any questions of Michelle or Jeff on this agenda item?
Kate has a question.
Kate?
Thank you. So, I just want to make sure I understand. Is there anything in this that states that the combined amount, sorry, trying to do the math in my brain. I guess one of my questions would be to Jeff, how much of the amount for the other three counties has been loaned out so far? Like, what is the amount, the percentage of usage of the loan funds that you have currently approximately? You don't need
Yeah,
an
so
exact number.
well, it's not just 3 counties. Like I said, it's 10 counties. So
Yes.
our EDA cares, we also have one. Ours was awarded at 1.79 million. It's almost all been revolved, and we currently have just about 2/3 out and 1/3 in. So we have about 600,000 in loanable funds that would combine with your roughly 600,000 for loanable funds under EDA cares. But the total value, not counting your loan fund of ours, is approximately 10.5 million, of which about 4.5 are loaned out.
Okay.
Is that the question?
Yes, I think that my big concern, and I'm hoping that it's a non-issue, is that if we were to join this, that the other counties that are a part of this group wouldn't somehow manage to have their businesses request so much more that we wouldn't have all of our amount to our counties available as what we currently have. And I know that's very likely not going to be an issue, but I just want to make sure that I don't know if there's such a thing as dog earing that we can do, but I just want to make sure that we're being fair to the two counties when we're turning this over, that we're not just giving money away to other places that could be ours.
Yeah, certainly. And so Michelle and I had talked about just taking it over and then just operating it strictly for Benton and Franklin counties. And we actually our preference is not to do that. One, because we are geographically different or dislocated from you. But if you do, we do serve other counties, and hopefully you've had a chance to go to our website. But what I would say is that I've been the executive director for 10 years at TED, and we have always kind of run about a 50-50 split on our loan fund between loanable funds and amounts loaned out. So I don't see a mad rush just because we got an extra $900,000. In fact, the only thing I would say maybe unless you've seen more of a rush in your two counties, in which case, we'd be willing to loan that, like I said, out of our other loan funds as well. I just don't see that mad rush happening. Michelle?
Jeff, that would have been my feedback. Yeah, that would have been my feedback as well, that generally speaking, for the revolving loan funds, it is a struggle to identify those special borrowers that aren't already being served by the broader lending population that can also still qualify even as a little bit of a higher risk loan. So having looked at their portfolio and our history, it wasn't as big a concern to me that our borrowers might not have something eligible. In fact, just adding that into the bigger fund actually increases their possibility of accessing funds versus the smaller amount that we had, yeah.
And that's what I was hoping for. Then my other question would be, and I apologize, I'm not that great still at reading some of the lingo.
Yeah.
When it comes to folks that are applying to these loans, then is it going to change who the decision maker is, whether or not the loan gets approved? Or is it still the federal government because it's federal money?
Yeah, so how the revolving loan funds work and similarly, regardless of which agency you have a loan fund committee, you have a plan that dictates how those decisions are made, the interest rates, if there are any limitations on geography or what have you. But then those decisions would be made, in this case, they would be made by the loan committee that the TED organization has. One of the things that when you look at the proposed motion, Tri-County has given us a proposal. There is paperwork and work and negotiating that has to be done between TED and REDD and the Economic Development District to get those details worked out, because there are some differences between what was approved by EDA as our revolving loan plan and the existing plan that Tri-County has. So they've got to get all those details worked out. And some of those are those elements is the percentage rate. Like we have a different loan percentage rate currently than Tri-County has. And so it'll be figuring out what are the elements of the plan that they will operate their larger fund under. Yeah.
And going along with that, then, do we not know if the rate would go up for borrowers if we were to turn over the revolving loan fund or go down? Do we know?
We don't know. That'll be part of this negotiation piece. So the proposed motion would be to authorize me to negotiate on our behalf to work out these details and then execute that transfer. So that will just give us the flexibility to do what needs to be done there. When we talk about rate differences, I mean, inherently with these funds, they are intended to be reasonably rate, they're government backed, they're specifically to help drive some of those margin businesses that couldn't normally qualify for other loans, but still are worthwhile endeavors. So again, it's the minor details. They're not going to be rates that are going to keep people from borrowing, but making sure that the rate is enough that you can actually afford to operate your fund, which was always part of our problem. So
yeah, what I would offer is one, our loan committee is made up of members of our board as well as local business members and representatives from other counties. So you are certainly more than welcome to have a representative on our loan committee. And it meets once a month, and we have a hybrid option. So that would certainly be something we would, actually we would look forward to having another member on our loan committee. Currently our rates, when we received EDA CARES, all of our EDA CARES went out initially at 2%. And Michelle would tell you can't run a loan fund on that. And so right now, I would say on the whole for our entire RLF program, the rates average between 6 and 10%, but that's still well below a commercial rate right now.
And I think that would be fantastic too, to have some representation on that board. So I don't know if there would be a call for folks if they would be interested or not, but I think that would be a great way to make sure that we can have that representation in there. Yeah, awesome. Thank you.
Any
so
other board
if
members?
the
Go ahead, Michelle.
Skip, I'll just add that if the board approves this motion to authorize me to move this discussion forward and execute a transfer, then at the point that we have negotiated all of those details, we will bring that back to the board to just let everybody know exactly where it all ended up.
And
that's where I am too. My board has authorized me to negotiate as well, but any final decision would have to be approved by both boards.
All right, you have on your screen a proposed motion. Would someone like to make that motion, please?
This is Kate Moran. I move the proposed motion as shown.
Instead of reading it all, huh? All right, thank you. Is there a second? Is there a second to Kate's motion?
I'll second it. This is Vicky.
Thank you, Vicky. It's been moved and seconded to approve well, you can see it on your screen. I'm not going to read it either. Any further board discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed say no. The motion is approved. Jeff, thank you. Michelle, thank you for explaining that. I think this is a very good move. So thank you, everybody, for your involvement and your vote on this one.
Thank you.
Right.
And Michelle and I will get to work.
Yeah, great.
Thank you, Jeff.
You're welcome.
Okay, we'll move on to reports. Aaron, tip obligation status?
Yes, and I will be handing these reports off to Tanner, Daisy, and Lizzie. And Tanner's up first.
Okay, go ahead, Tanner.
All right, thank you. Yeah, so each year the region is given a target to meet for spending surface transportation block grant program funds, transportation alternative program funds, and carbon reduction program funds. And in 2025, we had a federal fiscal year target of 9.24 million. And I am very happy to report that we met that target. There were a total of 8 projects that obligated for 11.2 million. So we exceeded that by 1.9. If you can go to the next slide, please. This is the list of projects that obligated. As you can see, that red number is a good thing, not a bad thing. So we're good to go there. And then next slide. These are the 2026 projects that are programmed to obligate and meet that target, which we don't yet have for September 30th, 2026, but it's estimated around 5 million. You can see we have just over 7 million of projects, so we're looking to spend all that money and meet our target again this year.
Tanner, thank you. Questions of Tanner by the board? All right, hearing none. Tanner, thank you so much for that report.
Thank you.
We'll move on to Regional Transportation Plan 2050 survey, and I believe that's Daisy.
Yes, thank you, Skip. Good morning, everyone. I'm Daisy Funk, Senior Regional Planner, and we wanted to give you a little update on the Regional Transportation Plan 2050 survey. This was called the Metropolitan Transportation Plan, or MTP, in the past, but this is a long-range transportation plan that guides transportation investments and priorities and projects over the next 25 years for the Benton-Franklin region. So we had our RTP 2050 survey released on the 17th of September, and that'll be open through the end of 2025. So a long timeline to get as many responses as possible. So far, we have received 370 surveys total. 26 of those surveys were done in person on September 19th at the Richland Farmers Market. It was a really exciting community engagement event. We had our staff there, and it was really fun to interact with the community, hear some of their feedback. And we will continue engaging in person and online throughout the next few months. We will be on the Tri-Cities Marathon soon. And we're also doing a kind of Simpson survey. Let's talk about transportation event later this fall at some of our local markets. So we will continue doing lots of public engagement, get as many responses as possible. In your packet was the flyer. So if y'all could share that with your networks to help us continue getting responses, that would be amazing. Otherwise, I can answer any questions y'all have.
Board members, any questions of Daisy?
What was the total amount you said?
So far, 370.
370, well, that's online and in person?
Yes, yeah.
Awesome.
Any other questions? All right.
Regarding the survey, is there a youth outreach component to that survey? Or is it for 18 and above?
It is not limited to 18 and above. We haven't necessarily done targeted youth outreach yet. But I think one of the things that we've been talking a lot, not just with this plan, but our public engagement in general, is how can we meet people where they are? So specifically with youth, this is a different topic, but with Future 2075, for example, we've been doing a lot of youth outreach and it's been really successful. So I think now we've kind of found some new avenues to reach out and target youth to make sure we're getting their feedback. It's super important.
Yeah.
So yeah, great. Yeah.
Any further questions? Daisy, thank you so much for a great report. Thank you for that. We'll move on to air quality, the Tri-City Regional Resource Guide, Lizzie.
Hi, good morning, everybody. I'm recovering for a cold, so if you can't hear me, I apologize. It's just a nasally voice, gotta deal with today. So, but yes, I'm Elizabeth Garcia, I'm Community Environments Regional Planner. Every September, we launch our air quality awareness campaign, and part of that was launching our long title, the Air Quality in the Tri-Cities Region Resource Guide, which is a digital toolkit that was developed in collaboration with the Health District, with Benton-Franklin Air Agency, and Department of Ecology, just to support public awareness and local action on air quality for both Benton and Franklin counties. The guide is designed for local governments, community partners, and residents, and just brings together resources, information, maps, toolkits. So just anything that you could need for air quality is just put into one accessible format. So that is available on our website. It can get dispensed through there. It's just like a digital PDF. And then just as a reminder, Benton-Franklin counties are identified as highly impacted by ozone and particulate matter pollution. So that's why we do this campaign, is just to bring that awareness. And as an MPO and our TPO, it'll be our responsibility, if we do end up going into non-attainment, to help oversee any of those transportation projects to make sure that we do get into attainment. And so just proactively trying to help our communities to avoid any non-attainment status under the Clean Air Act. Moving ahead, our campaign efforts are going to be focusing on just continuing to inform and educate the public. We would like to explore continued additional formats that are more accessible. We would like to do more youth involvement, as well as get the community a little bit more involved. And then just explore new tools in general for air quality awareness. If you have any questions, I'm open to answering them.
Lizzie, thank you for that. Questions of the board of Lizzie? All right, Lizzie, thanks for that great presentation. We'll move on then to EDD local government programs report with Kristen.
Morning, everybody. Kristen, Grant Navigator. We get to start out with congratulations to 3 of our jurisdictions. The Department of Commerce announced their Public Works Board awards, and we received $5.7 million for the region. Benton City received $1.7 million for their residential sewer line repair. City of Richland received $500,000 for their wastewater treatment plan, and Pasco received $3.5 million for the Lewis Street underpass demolition. And another exciting part of that is all 3 of these were listed in our SEDS as priorities. So that's really exciting that we were able to receive some funding for those. Our next topic is EDAC. We had our first meeting since the SEDS was the 2026 to 2030 SEDS report was completed and submitted. And we met with our members to talk about moving forward after the completion of that SEDS. And we voted on, they were asked how often they like to meet, the length of those meetings, and they voted on doing it monthly. So we'll be meeting the 3rd Monday of every month at 4 p.m. Our next meeting, as you'll see, is December 17th. At those meetings, we're going to cover the strategic priorities that are listed within the SEDS. There are 5 different ones. We'll talk about one each month, focus on that, and talk about some of the improvements that we're going to make, some of the programs that we're looking to improve. And so that's kind of how we'll focus those meetings. We'll have a tracking system that will go through the SEDS that has all the list of things that we're wanting to accomplish and things that groups were putting together. So we'll kind of track that each month as well. And in the packet that you guys received, there was one of the EDAC nomination forms. So if you know somebody that would be great on this board, please, you can either send me the nomination, or if you just want to give me their name and I can reach out to them and see if they'd like to join, that'd be great. We do have a list of areas we'd like to add additional members, so I can send those out to you as well. And next, I talked about this a little bit at our last meeting, but I wanted to show you on our website where people are able to reach out for technical assistance. So if you go to our BFCOG website, which is bfcog.us, at the very top of it, you'll see kind of the different drop-down menus of where you can reach us. So where it says number 1, if you select engage with us, it will bring up a window or a site, and you'll see on the far left side, the black box, you'll select request technical assistance for grants. When you do this, this page will come up and somebody can submit their name. The red parts are the only parts that are required, but their name, contact information, the jurisdiction that they are from, and then a little bit of information about what they're looking for funding for, or if they saw a grant that they would like more information on, that they can also send that to me, and it will send an email directly to me so that I can respond to them directly. So if you know anyone that is looking for funding or wants more information, direct them to our website. That's a great place for it. Or if you just can't remember my contact information, you can also reach me through there. And then we're also going to add, we're working on the format right now, but I'm going to add a list of all the current and active grants. So anything that I've sent out to people or that hasn't already passed due date will be on that list so that you're able to find that quickly on our website and then go to wherever that grant is as well. And that's everything. Do you guys have any questions?
Kristen, thank you. Board members, any
Kate.
questions of Kristen?
I think Kate has one.
Kate?
I'm the talkative one today, apologies. First, I want to say thank you. I have been chatting up the gospel of the grant navigation to everyone I can. I'm curious with this technical assistance that only those that have that are paying members and to be a college can use it, or is it anyone in Benton County and Walla Walla that's in a?
It's for our jurisdictions.
Okay.
So however, that list of grants on there is for anybody. So there, and I would be happy to direct them where other grants are. I don't have a problem with talking to people about, you know, where they can find grants, where some ones are available, even the process.
Okay.
But for a deep dive into technical assistance, it does have to be with our jurisdiction.
Okay, yeah, of course, yeah. The Association of Washington Cities, our District 2 meeting was in Waitsburg. And I've been trying to nudge, wink, Waitsburg and a few other cities that were there into looking into it, and especially the possibility of them joining BFCOG because of the return on investment that we get from it. So hopefully you will be getting either Michelle and hopefully Kristen some help.
I'd love to help them
find some of those cities.
Yeah, I'd be happy to help them find some resources that they can use too.
Excellent, thank you.
Any other questions of Kristen? All right, Kristen, thank you for that report. We'll move on then to Michelle, your executive director report.
Me, I'll be the tail end. So for operations, we'll have the budget draft to present to the board at the November board meeting. Alexis and I have been very busy working on that. Regarding the government shutdown impacts, just as a reminder, every time it looks like maybe this will happen, we always go back and be like, okay, where are we at? So for right now, carryover funds that WashDOT holds on our behalf from previous years formula funds for the MPO. Those lessen the immediate impact on transportation programs for us for several months. We do currently have an inability to process our final quarterly EDA grant drawdown, which is $17,500. So we're just kind of waiting on that. It's not quite as impactful as it feels because EDA had just shifted where we were requesting those funds at the end of the quarter as a reimbursement. And 3 months ago, at the beginning of the previous quarter, they allowed us to draw that down as an advance ahead of the quarter. So Normally, we would be waiting on this money right now anyway, so we're just waiting to be able to process the payment, but that is held up with the shutdown. And then, of course, because we are still benefiting from our ARPA funding from the counties that runs through the end of this year, and our PWEDA funds that we have available to support some of our economic development things. At this point, we're good for a while, like everybody else. Eventually, you know, we will be impacted, but nothing short term. So I just wanted to give everybody an update in case you were concerned about that. Brownfields. This is going to be my last report on brownfields going forward. Lizzie is our lead for our brownfield activities, so she will take this on. But I am reporting out that our FY21 grant is now officially completed, done, closed out, report accepted by the EPA. So we are officially done. Our 2025 grant has now officially been awarded. This is one where they don't send us a contract that we bring to the board to approve. They just send us the assistance agreement document, and they assume that since you applied for it, okay, you approved it. So we are now official. So the RFP to secure our new implementation consultant was posted on Monday. That'll be up for 30 days. So by the time we go through that whole process to secure the consultant and do the initial, there is I can't even tell you what that acronym stands for, but quality assurance, something is called a QAP. But the consultant and our office produce the QAP that's then adopted by EPA, and at that point we can begin doing projects. So we're still estimating by the time we get through those processes, it'll be the beginning of February before we can start doing things. But we are moving forward, and that's great. And I am so happy that Lizzie is taking on this project. I can't even tell you. And then last up, I gave you guys a lot of just general update stuff in the report in the packet. One was Daisy and I were interviewed by the Journal of Business about the new SEDS and its release. It was awesome that somebody actually called us and asked some questions about the SEDS. Ooh, that's exciting, you know. And it was mostly factually accurate, which is also always a win. We're pretty happy about that. But our Future 2075 event, I am just really happy with where we are in getting that pulled together. We sent out the last call for registrations and confirmations at the beginning of this week. We've got to turn in our minimum head counts for meals and things next week. To date, we've had nearly 40 staff and elected officials from our jurisdictions that are registered to participate. Was 15 our final count? 17. Okay, we had 17 high school and or college students apply to be regional youth ambassadors at this event. So we will have 10 of those that have been selected and are being notified today. So for every table at the event, there will be one youth representative. So to provide some perspective for the future. I don't recall whose suggestion that was at a past board meeting, but Lizzie and Daisy have really taken that on. And I got to tell you, the caliber of student applicants that we had to participate is really interesting. So I think it's going to add a fun dynamic to the day. The agenda and all the activities have been finalized, and now we're ordering print materials, signs, swag for the day, because we really want to make sure that people carry the message of being a regionalist and thinking regionally beyond the event. Details for our facilitator, Dr. Lori Barber, and our graphic recorder, David Michael Moore, have all been finalized. So it's coming together. I appreciate Skip was such a good sport to film his invitation video for us, and we really put a lot of effort into making sure we communicated in a lot of ways to get this on people's radar. So postcards and hand-mailed cards and videos and emails and follow-ups. And so if you're sick of hearing about it, I apologize, but I really hope it's just building the suspense of the day and the dinner the evening before. So we're very excited, and thank you to all of you who have talked it up to your staff or fellow elected officials or have committed yourself to be there. I think it's going to be a wonderful, wonderful day.
I think
That's it.
I think Future 2075 is probably one of the most strategic regional things that the COG has ever done. So I'm very, very pleased with where this is going. And Michelle, thank you so much for all your work on this. Any
I can't take the credit, Skip. This has been an all hands on deck planning activity. So we're working hard.
Good. Thank you. Any questions of Michelle on her report from anyone? All right, we'll move on then. Is there any new business that needs to come before the board at this meeting? If not, do any directors have any updates they'd like to give us? From anyone?
I have a brief one.
Go ahead.
Kate does.
Yes, I know that not everybody has been completely involved in Association of Washington Cities, but there is the Association of Washington Cities Center for Quality Community Scholarship that has just opened up. They're looking for youth in our areas to be nominated to the Association of Washington Cities Center for Quality Communities board for their scholarship. Each year, all of the cities, all of 281 cities and towns can recruit scholarship applicants. Each city can nominate one graduating high school senior. For $3,000 scholarships are being awarded next year. So if any of the jurisdictions at all have a student that they would like to nominate, please talk to the city that student lives in. I would love to have a student from the Tri-Cities area make it at the very least to the finals or even nominated. So please ask around. I've been asking the school board members. I would really love to see somebody from Tri-Cities up for scholarship next year at the annual meeting.
Is it open to college students or only to high school?
It is just to graduating high school seniors.
Okay.
Yes. And if you go to wacities.org /CQC-home/scholarships, and I can give Michelle or anybody else that link. You can see more about it, and they've got the application for how to apply, and also if you want to donate to the funds. That's one of the other things that we do at the AWC annual event is they have a big fundraising dinner. People donate money. More people donate, the more money the scholars can get when they receive the scholarship. So yeah, that would be a great way for us to help out local youth. And yeah, I really love seeing the focus that we're putting on youth. So kudos to staff and board members for making sure that we're involving, because that's how we survive as a community. Yeah, is getting youth involved. So, thank you.
Great, thanks for that, Kate. Any other board members have any updates they'd like to give us? Okay, hearing none, then our next meeting is Friday, November 21st at 10 a.m. And this meeting is adjourned at 11:49. And I wish you all a great weekend.
Thank you. Thank you.